All right. Welcome everyone for at another YouTube live on improving your communication skills. I'm really happy and seeing this really amazing group of people joining in here for today's live session. Thank you so much for joining in. Those of you who do not know me, I'm Kirtan. So today's live topic is about how do you actually solve the fluency problem in communication, because I know for sure when we are actually doing this, we all had this challenge one or the other time in our life where we don't get that right type of words to get in forward. We actually fumble upon certain things, right? So there are 5 different problems that I have identified here for this particular life, so that you understand these are the problems, because it's very important that Albert Einstein says this very clearly. To solve any problem, right, we have to spend our time in identifying the problem first, right? If we know what is actually coming in the way of actually creating this challenge, then everything will be better, right? First identifying the problem, and then we will be actually going today with 10 amazing things what you can do in order to solve the communication problem, specifically in terms of fluency. So let's get started, guys. And those of you who are joining in for the first time, if you haven't been part of this particular YouTube channel, please do subscribe to the channel and also click on that bell notification icon, so that videos like this, right, keeps coming to you and you get notified when we are live, right? So let's get started, guys. So one of the very important thing that what we need to understand when it comes to solving this fluency problem in communication is we need to identify the problem. So let's get started. What is that first problem that what we all have when we are communicating? The first problem is fumbling, right? So where we actually do not get that particular kind of things, like where I don't get this, like I don't get this like this. Are you guys understanding what I'm talking about? Where we keep repeating the same sentence or sometimes same words, right? And it becomes messy, right? This is one of the challenge that what we all go through when we are communicating, and that is going to stop our fluency. The second problems that what we all go on is with fillers. What does fillers mean? Uh, uh, Ooh, all these things are fillers. Are you guys understanding what I'm talking about? When we are actually communicating, we use the words like ooh, stuff like that when we are communicating, and that is what is actually the problem for fluency. We are going to understand how do we actually solve the problem of fillers. The third thing is grammar, right? So how do we actually solve the grammar problem? And we are also going to actually understand here how do we solve the pronunciation problem, right? So most of the time when we are actually pronouncing certain words, we don't get these things right. Like for example, words like ra. So many people cannot actually come up with that pronunciation properly. For example, the words like when we are saying thank you, so most of the time we will not be knowing the right way to say that. Sometimes people say thank you, like that. You might have seen various different types of things, right? Or sometimes when we have to say sa, we will not be able to say that, like, or la, we will not be able to say that. All those kinds of things are very important. Like how do you actually improve that? We're going to understand that today. So nothing wrong with that. Everybody have been there, done that in various different situations, but it is very important to accept the problems and then see how do we actually improve that. The next thing is that we also need to understand, like, how do we actually solve this problem of being blank, right? If we go blank in terms of like what needs to be done, what needs to be shared, suddenly like you get stuck. What is that what we need to be doing when you are actually communicating? We are going to get through all of this particular things today in this particular live. Are you guys ready? If you guys are ready, just type it down ready in the chat box. Those of you have joined in live here, right? Just type it down ready. We are going to solve all these particular problems today, and you're going to understand what is that methods that what you can actually take it forward in order to improvise on this. Okay, the first problem that I actually shared here is actually about you fumbling, right? there are three important amazing things that what you can do. Okay, number one, when you are actually trying to use the same words, right, when you are actually trying to use the same word, when you are fumbling, so slow down. Okay, you do not need to be keep on going fast forward, right? Like you do not need to be like an express train. Okay, so most of the time we actually tend to repeat certain things in our life. Is the reason is because we are full fast track, fast train. No, it can be slow down, pause, understand that, then it is going to be really really good in pacing, right? When you're communicating, whatever the sentences that you want to say that in a slow pace. That is one way by which you can actually avoid fumbling. The second way, the reason why we actually fumble on same words sometimes, same sentence sometimes, is because there is a body, mind, and tongue connection missing, right? A body, mind, and tongue connection missing. So that is where it is very very important that I share this as MBT, right? So mind, body, and tongue connection. So it's very important that we actually connect all these three things. Like for example, think about it. If I actually make you do this activity where I say I want you to be happy in the emotion, but I want you to say I am sad, like this. I am sad, I am sad. See, do you see that there is a connection missing? And that is when you don't feel right, that is when fumbling happens, right? Or if I actually tell you that I want you to say that I am happy in a sad way, I'm happy, I'm happy. So what is actually happening? You are saying happy, right? But you are being sad. That is mind body connection miss. So most of the time we actually have this challenge of fumbling with the words when we are communicating, where we want to communicate fluently, but this mind, body, and the tongue is not connected properly, right? So slowing down will definitely help with solving fumbling problem. And second thing is that you actually make sure that you be little more present. You get yourself 100% here, body, mind, emotion, right, energy, everything is at peak condition, and then you are actually communicating, things will be much more better. Third thing, okay, the third thing is that you need to understand, no matter whatever you actually try to get it right, sometimes it happens, right? It happens that fumbling will happen, and you should not be too strict with yourself. I need to be there is no first prize, second prize, third prize, where you should not be communicating and stuff like that. It's absolutely okay. Even sometimes if you fumble here and there, repeat certain words, repeat certain sentence, it's okay, but it should not be the entire flow, right? When you are communicating overall, if it is too much of that, people, for listeners, it will not be good. So that is where it is very important that you get it right. The second problem is fillers, right? So how do we actually solve this fillers? So I have two important things that which you can utilize to avoid fillers, right? Like right, I'm telling like this, keep people keep doing this whenever they are communicating, they keep saying that. So what is that you can actually do is that one of the very important thing, whenever, the reason why we actually use the fillers is because we don't get that what is that next thing to say, and that is when happens. So at that time you can actually pause and ask questions, right? You can ask questions to avoid fillers. You know that, okay, I have ended this, pause, right, and ask questions, right? For example, let's consider you actually did not understood what is that next thing that you need to actually ask. Then what you can do, can I ask you some question? Okay, very various different types of questions that you can ask. Or you can ask something like, let me ask you a question, or okay, so let me think about it. Or you can actually say, are you guys understanding what I'm talking about? Let me think about it. You are using certain sentences rather than fillers, or you making that as a question so that it is giving you time to think during that time, right? So I want to share on this, for example, that is what it is. So what is that you want to share? You are going to go with that rather than having that all these things. Hope it's actually making sense, right? And where you also use power of pauses, you can actually have a pause, right? Let me start it back again, right? All these things where it is actually covering up that fillers, so you can actually avoid your fillers through this method. Then the third problem that what we all have is the grammar problem. All right, so how do we actually solve this? One thing that I want each and every one of you to understand is that this problem will be there. Okay, so there is always a progress in our life, right? I too do a lot of fumbling today, I too do a lot of fillers today. There is nothing called as perfection. Okay, there is something called as progress in our life. I too do a lot of grammar mistakes. It's absolutely okay. Most of us are too hard on ourselves, and that is the reason why we don't progress in our life. We want everything to be perfect, then I'll start communicating. It will not happen. All right. So we need to understand progress is much more better than just being perfect, and doing nothing. All right. So version one is better than version none. But once you go to version one, you have to go to version two. Once you go to version two, you have to go to version three. And maybe in that journey of progress, you might be perfect at what you do, right? So that is very, very important. So when it comes to grammar, how do we actually solve this? So that is the third problem, right? So with grammar, so you have to identify your grammar errors. So you have to know what are the grammar errors that what you are doing. How do we identify that when we are actually communicating? How do I know that I'm actually doing a grammar mistake? What do we do with that? Okay, so one of the best way to identify your grammar errors is because we can identify grammar error only when we have written things down. If you are speaking, sometimes we keep doing that. If you have a mentor who is there with you, those people can actually correct that, right? But if we do not have somebody like that, what you can do is that let's take a topic and start writing everything down in a piece of paper, and now put that content, copy that in the Word document, whatever is there, and use some tools, right? Like there are certain tools where you can do that, like spell check, right? Where you can actually improve your spellings also, not just the grammar but also spell check. Sometimes there are tools like Grammarly that is there, where you can do grammar check. And when you do grammar check, where you will be able to identify your own grammar errors. And when you know that, you have to start implementing that even when you are communicating. Because if you know that, because written form of communication is the crystallized thoughts, right? Whatever is there as a thoughts, and whatever is that you are trying to bring it from your mouth, you are trying to bring it in hands. So when that is crystallized, it is better to improve that. So that is where you use that identifying grammar errors by, I just gave you a technique, right? So whatever that you want to communicate, just put it on a paper, and then transfer that and check that with Grammarly using tools, right? There are various tools that you can actually do it. But there are still more things that what you can do to improve your grammar, right? Like there are other problems people have when it comes to fluency is vocabulary. They don't get the right words, right? All these things can be improved step by step. Nothing happens just in a single day, right? We know that even that athlete who actually comes as a champion or comes as a first have practiced for years. It is just that last 1 minute, 2 minutes, or even that seconds, few seconds might make him a champion or a runner up. So same thing is true with each and every one of us. We need to identify the problems and start getting the things. What are the possible solutions that I need to be inculcating to improve my communication? So hope you got this idea. Then we have the pronunciation problem. So pronunciation problem is basically, it's not a problem of mind or of an emotion or of your body. It is of your tongue. So what is that what you need to be doing is that you got to learn how to do tongue exercise. Sometimes what will happen is that your tongue will, because if you see the communication, it is all happening just between this region, right? And for some of you, when it comes to the tongue from the beginning, okay, you, some of the parts of your tongue muscles are very strong to articulate your communication or your message. But for some people, certain letters or certain regional language words, like I said, some people cannot say la, they only can say la. Some people cannot say sa, right? So all these things actually happens in terms of pronunciation, because the tongues are not actually flexible. So you can do certain tongue exercise, which I usually recommend people when it is actually coming to improving your pronunciation. Is that, like for example, right now we know that what is the maximum our tongue can do, right? If you see this tongue right now here, to improve your pronunciation, what you can do, give some good strength to your tongue to specifically communicate. See, when I'm communicating like this, it has to move around a lot, yes or no, right? So think about it. If you just run for a long period of time, you get like oh, I got to be like feeling tired and all of that, right? But you're actually communicating with this tongue, and there is also a small tongue there, right? But that is actually giving that force, right? Like it is also with the air and all of that particular thing coming in. You have a voice box and all of that. But it is very important you give a good exercise to this tongue. So how do you actually do this tongue exercises? What are all the various different types? For example, this is your tongue, right? So you can actually make your tongue actually go backward like this, right? And make it forward like this, how much ever you can, and make it go backward and come forward, how much ever strength you can actually put. This is one way. So you can keep trying this before even going through a meeting, or before you actually want to communicate, or even it can go this way, because we give good tongue exercise when we are eating food, right? But that is chewing, right? We are actually giving exercise to our teeth as well, right? But it's very important when you are communicating, when it has to flow freely. Okay, you can do this 10 times, right? 10 times going backward and forward, backward, forward, backward, forward. You can try this way if you're actually watching this, right? So tongue exercise can actually help you improve your pronunciations, right? And also, as I told you, that when you're actually doing this, all these problems are not going to just go away in a day, right? It takes what, lot of practice. You got to practice a lot, right? So anything that what we want to master in our life, it comes with that price. You have to pay a price to achieve something in your life, and that is practice, right? Whatever that you are learning, you have to practice that. And so whatever you practice it in a right way, that is what is going to become permanent in your life. So to be that communicator with confidence, you're communicating. Those of you who have not watched my previous live on how do you get started communication for beginners, please watch that if you have not watched. Already last week I actually did that. Really amazing response from people, and they have learned a lot from that. There are 10 basic principles, foundational principles that I have given to actually improve your communication and take it forward to the next level, right? And that is very, very important. And the fifth and the most important problem that what we all go through, right? We actually going blank. I don't know what to do now, right? When we go blank, okay, I have already shared last time also, whenever you actually go blank, what you can try doing is that if you are speaking to one, you can open up new conversation. There are two types of questions that what you can ask. Actually, whenever you go blank, you can ask a open-ended question to the other person. If it is a one-on-one communication, you can ask an open-ended question where they speak more after your communication is over, where you ask a question, tell me more about this, tell me more about that, tell me more about. So these questions you can actually ask so that they communicate, so you get time to come back on track whenever you go blank. So the second way by which you can actually do is that by asking closed ended questions, which are yes or no type of questions, and you keep asking questions and you come back on track. But it is very important you actually ask relatable quality questions. That is very, very important. So it is the same method that you can actually do it if you are actually speaking to one to many people, right? You can ask open-ended question and make audience to communicate with you. When you are doing that, you can get yourself on track, right? So that is very, very important, that what you can do when it comes to going blank. But I'm going to give you something today, a very, very important technique that what you can use. So just to see you how you go blank, so what you can actually do whenever you actually feel that you have gone little blank, and you don't know what is that you need to be doing, so what you can do is this, and that is the music video recording technique. So what do I mean by that? Which means that you're going to keep yourself with the music on, right? And you're going to keep communicating on any one of the topic, right? Keep communicating on any one of the topic, and record yourself. Because most of the time what will happen whenever we go blank, our hesitation comes in, our emotion comes in and stops us, right? Saying that, see, you are not communicating well, you are always like this. All this mind chatter starts coming from the mind and from the emotions, and we feel stuck and we don't want to do anything. Rather than that, what you can do, most of you might have tried this earlier, that practicing in front of mirror and all of that. But all those things are great, but what you can actually do more is that you do not want to listen to your own words, but you want to communicate in English, right? What you can do, you can even put an earbuds or something like that, where you cannot listen to yourself, but you keep a video on and you keep communicating. And even you know that you have gone blank, keep communicating, keep bringing the words, and you see that back again. Then you will come to know, okay, how do I actually decrease my fumbling when I'm actually communicating? How do I decrease my fillers? So from one video to another video, how do I, because what you measure can be improved. If you actually measure your own communication, you can actually improve that. How do I actually reduce my grammar errors? How do I actually do the pronunciation better, and how do I actually get myself out of my blankness, right? All these things you can actually get yourself out of it. Hope you got amazing session from this 5 different problems that what we have already discussed, and I also given you 10 amazing techniques or tools that what you can actually use to solve this problem. Hope this has actually been a value addition for each and every one of you. If you have already loved this particular live, I want you to hit that subscribe button and also give that like button, and also share it with those people who could benefited from this. I would love to see you in the upcoming live session. Till then, be extraordinary. Thank you.